So one thing that I really love about the program here with the preschool classrooms, they're all on this same pod. And so some of the teachers are staying after school today and they're working on their lesson planning, and we're going to peek in on the varying age groups and see what kind of fun things they have in store. So let's go see what our 4-year-old teachers have. So they're working on planning an upcoming unit, kind of brainstorming ideas. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hope you don't mind the interruption. So these are some of our fabulous 4-year-old teachers. If y'all would do me a favor and tell me your name and a little bit about yourselves. And let's start with Jenny.
Okay, I'm Jenny Frank. I've been a teacher here for 15 years, and I was a special ed teacher before that. Certified early childhood through 6, but also I did special ed as well. And I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love working here. I love getting to teach all these kiddos, and very hands-on, and I love that.
Yeah, I can see. We have a table full. I
Table
can
full
see.
of hands-on activities.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm Dina Prince. I am partners with Jenny. I've been here 5 years. I retired from corporate America environmental law and found my favorite home, my favorite place to be, which is right here teaching, especially art.
Yeah.
Art and reading.
And I see you have something planned for the environment. So we'll
Yes.
talk about that in a minute. So funny. Environmental law, and there you are.
I'm Jennifer Alberg, and this is my second year here at Tiny Treasures. I taught kindergarten and FISD for 13 years before that, and I really love it here. I'm settling in and figuring it out this year a little bit easier than before, but I love it. It allows me to teach the kindergarten that I love to teach.
Yeah.
That I get to do hands-on, and even though it's pre-K, it's this part that when I started teaching kindergarten that I got to teach, and so I get to go back to that and I get to teach.
Which is so true, because the standards have changed so much. So what you were teaching 13 years ago when you started kindergarten is a lot of what you're doing here at preschool with these kids every day. So what a blessing you all are. So tell me some fun activities. We'll start over here. What do you have planned? You're working on a unit. What unit of study is this?
This is winter animals, bears.
Awesome.
Information. So we're kind of covering a lot of different topics here. So we were talking about polar bears and winter animals, and so one of the things I did with the kids, and I was showing Jennifer, is we were talking about what happens when they walk in the snow. And so first we put a safari animal in the snow and the feet go all the way to the bottom, and then we put a person in the snow and the feet go all the way down, and then we put a polar bear and the polar bear sat on top. So then we discussed why they were able to sit on top. We compared the feet, talked about the feet, and then we put snowshoes on a person.
Oh, fun.
And saw that the person could then stand on top of the snow with the help of the snowshoes.
That's great.
So
That's great.
that was what we did with that.
I need this one.
And then this was just a letter. This is a review of a lot of the letters that we've already done and a few that we haven't. And basically they just roll the dice, and it's a snow globe, and they pick a stamper, and they stamp when they find the dice, find the letter,
fun.
and they got to stamp on it, and then roll again and pick another one and fill it up.
And they love those stamps.
Yes,
Oh
they-
my goodness, they do.
They live for stamps.
And you mentioned polar bears. I see we've got some artwork here on the wall with our polar bears that's incorporated in there. It looks like a lot of fun there. What do we have down here for our environment? Maybe some, yeah.
Well, this week we're doing process art, which is, it's not directed, they don't have a pattern to follow. So I like to teach art a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's just free form, but this is kind of like free form because Jenny's going to talk a lot about habitat and how bears hibernate and what it looks like. And then we're going to give them the materials, and they are going to make their own habitat by creating what it would look like on the outside, plus what a bear might want in the inside, like maybe some bugs to eat when he wakes up. There were bugs in my stuff a minute ago. I got them all out. So, and then they will put some stuff on the top, and they don't have a sample. They just have the knowledge of what it could look like based on what we've talked about.
Right, and I know y'all
So-
been tying in a lot of stories
Yes.
about bears, so they've been
And then we actually
exposed.
have a bear because you can't have a bear hibernating without a bear to be in the cave.
And so each little student gets a bear for
Yes.
their, oh, that's adorable. All right, Miss Alberg, what do we have?
We typically do kind of a literacy center section and then also a math center section. So when we're planning these, we're doing a little bit of both, which is why you'll see some different kinds of
Yeah.
things. So this is part of my math centers this week, and we are doing gummy bear graphing. And so I just kind of grabbed into the bag of gummy bears and gave each kid a handful about the same size and had them start to sort them. Well, first we actually colored each bear, so we put them in order so that they would know. And then I said, okay, put all your red ones, put all your green, you know, that kind of thing. And so we sorted them out, and we talked about which ones are higher, which ones are smallest, if we had any that are 0, that didn't have any at all, because I just gave them a random amount. Some didn't have certain colors. And then I kind of taught them to count them, pick them up, put them in the bag, and then color that many squares that they had. So that part is still a learning process, but it's good to teach them, to start teaching them to, you know, to count up on the graph. And so they really like that. And then of course they get to eat the
Yes.
when they go home. Another thing I like to do with math, and I change it out a lot, and I know Jenny has a lot of erasers. I find tons of little erasers, and I love to give them fine motor practice, any kind of tongs, tweezers, because the foundations of writing are going to be their strong muscles in their hands from fine motor skills. And so we don't like to put a pencil in their hand all the time and just have them write. We like to give them opportunity to do it in a fun way. And so using their pinchers is a lot. So I'll have them make patterns, I'll have them put numbers, and they have to put them in the ice cube trays. They might put all blue and then pink. Sometimes they choose their own pattern. Sometimes I give them a pattern. Sometimes I'll put numbers in the bottom, and they have to put that many into the trays. And so they like doing these, but the one rule is they can't use their hand, that they have to use
Perfect.
whichever pinchers or tweezers that I give them. So that's
great.
one thing that we'll do in math. And then something that they really enjoy doing is invitations to Play-Doh or other things. This is not necessarily Play-Doh, it's more felt, but I'll usually put out materials and we'll have Play-Doh. We might make a bug for insects, or we might make an actual snowman and decorate it with white Play-Doh, but this time I had felt, and so I have all the pieces, and they can just sit and build the snowman, you know, however they want. They can use the pom-poms, they can use buttons, they can bend the pipe cleaners whichever directions they want. They can give it scarves and bows and all kinds of things, and so they really have a lot of fun creating
Awesome.
different snowmen. And then they also are working on their sorting skills by, when they're done, putting all the things back where they go.
Right.
So-
Which is so important as the kindergarten
Yes.
teacher to have students who know how to clean up after themselves and put things back. And I see just walking around the table so many different hands-on fun. We've got Bears Bingo. This was all for a Bears and Hibernation unit. We've got dress-up play. I see probably a puppet we have here.
Yeah, some of them are more independent, like such as these, the dress-ups, the matching cards, the erasers, and then some of them are more teacher-directed that we do in centers at our tables, such as the graphs, the paper bag puppet, the stamping, the process art. We usually do those in small groups and then give the students tasks to do on their own that they can do independently.
And she was talking about not wanting to always do paper pencil, but yet you want them to learn how to make the letters.
Right.
And so we come up with all different ways to do that. And last week I had snow in a tub, and they were writing their letters in there. I had some stencil. They could use the stencil. They could freeform it. They wrote their names in there. And then this is something that I like to do with them. So it works on their pencil
Perfect.
grip, and they punch a hole down the letter, and then they take it off and take it home. But,
Yeah. They're a lot more excited about learning when it's, given to them in such a variety of
Right.
fun, hands-on way. Sometimes the worksheets are great, and, we're going to do practice with that sometimes.
Right.
But, when you have them for multiple hours a day, it's so nice for them to have so many of these hands-on. Well, I see there's lots of great things in the classroom. Would somebody point out a couple of the things that we have here?
The kids love puppets. So sometimes sometimes puppets come to visit, and this week they get to play with puppets, so
Yay.
they've had a good time.
Yeah, and that goes along with the winter
Yeah, we
and the
have winter
hibernation.
animal
And
puppets.
perfect.
And of course, this is the owl class, so we have to have an owl puppet.
Yes. Your little mascot, that each class has a different Winnie the Pooh character. And so y'all have calendar time each day as well.
Right, we have, so we do calendar, circle time. So we usually do in the morning, we do calendar and weather, and then we do circle time a little bit later where we focus on maybe words for winter. Tomorrow we're gonna write down a bunch of our words and then we'll put them on our word board over here. And they are, in the beginning of the year, it's really funny because they kind of stare at me. And then now they're like sitting there, I gotta think of a word. I gotta think of a word. You know, they're so excited to come up with a word.
Yeah.
And so we'll do that kind of thing. And then usually I'll teach, I'll read a book and we'll talk about whatever the subject is before we break into centers. If it's hibernation, or today we talked about polar bears. So we actually talked about bears in general, and I read a book, which somebody came and borrowed already. But it describes the 3 different kinds of bears, the most common bears. So it was a polar bear, brown bear, and black bear. And then talks about their different habitats, and that black bears and brown bears hibernate, polar bears don't. And then we actually had the San Diego Zoo has a polar bear cam. And so I pulled that up today and just left it out during center time, and so they could go over and watch the polar bear in his habitat.
I see a lot of fun, hands-on, fine motor.
Yep. So I'm big into fine motor and manipulation and creating. And so these are a bunch of different things that we do. And one of the things that I get big blocks out at least once a week. But my favorite thing is that they get so proud of what they build that they want me to take pictures of it. And so that's really cool. So 3 times this year, they all work together as a group, which is my thing that I really try to work on, is that they're a team. And then they build this like big giant thing, and they're like, look at it, and they're sitting in the middle of it, and they're like, take our picture, and they're so proud. And
I see the word wall here. You talked about the children adding the words, and then they actually get to see their words be put up on the wall, which is super exciting.
Put the words up there. And then every once in a while we'll go back and review the words. And
lots of more art. We've got a kitchen center here and some more art. Little home center. And like Miss Auberg mentioned, these are a lot of things that some of us who've been around a while used to see in a kindergarten classroom, but we still want to give the children those opportunities, and we can give them to them here in preschool. And when y'all mentioned the centers, part of what's important in kindergarten is that they know how to rotate centers and behave in centers, and so y'all are laying that foundation so when they go to kindergarten they're ready for that. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate you letting me peek in.
Sure, no
y'all have a
problem.
good one.
Thanks. Thank you.